There are 4 types of hiring manager every single person can be categorized into. They are reds, who are driven by result and quota achievement, the yellows, who are driven by energy and team connections, the greens, who are driven by process and stability, and the blue, who are driven by data and precision. Understanding these 4 colors of hiring manager has allowed me to help myself and my clients to land their dream tech sales job at top tech company like Cloudflare, Toast, and Okta, even when they have zero sales experience. In this video, you're going to learn first, what color are you? Second, the problem each color face, and third, how do you adapt your interview style to connect with each color? If you don't learn this, you will keep wondering why some interview feel effortless but other feels impossible. But imagine walking into a tech sales interview and instantly get a read of what drives them, what they fears, and how to speak their language so you can land the offer. And it starts firstly knowing your own color. If you're somebody ready to do the work, I'm not saying just watching this video, but the actual transformation. I've been providing workbooks for my recent videos. In these workbooks, I provided in-depth steps and guidance, as well as practical tasks to help you land your first tech sales job fast. The link is in the description below. Session number 1, what color are you? So I learned how to do this color system by Thomas Erickson, who wrote the book Surrounded by Idiots. When I first hear about this book, I was like, why he name it like that? Like, what? Surrounded by Idiots? It's kind of like a joke, you know, but it's also a mirror to how most people feels when others don't speak our language, don't talk the way we do. Like, you know, like sometimes you just feel like, yo, like my manager doesn't even listen to me, or like how can they just not get it, or like you just completely like lost it, and then you feel like, oh my god, I'm just surrounded by idiots, you know. So essentially Thomas Erickson, he flipped the frustration into learning, and in his book he's basically telling us like, you're not actually surrounded by idiots. It's just like we don't understand how different personality types communicates. So now the book suggests that like we are one of those 4 colors that I just mentioned. Like most of the time we're a mix of couple colors, and especially in interview settings, like you might be stronger in one of the color, but doesn't mean like you're not the rest, you know. So as I'm walking through you of these colors, like I would like you to think about like, what are you? And then also think about like what hiring manager come up in your brain as you are hearing these 4 types. Now first we have red, the result obsessed powerhouse. I would say like, think about Steve Jobs, you know, like his communication style is like so direct and sometimes like brutally honest, you know. That's how red is. And how they make decision is like very fast, decisive, intuitive, you know, like it has to be like boom, 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 do it. So in the interview, like how to identify if people are like that, or how do you identify if you are red? It's like, think about like, do you tend to like to ask tough question, or the hiring manager that you're meeting with, are they asking you tough question, direct stuff, right? Like straight to the point. So the question they usually ask you, it's like, okay, like how can you deliver this? You know, like how fast can you produce result, right? Like what have you done so far? Like very importantly, if you're interviewing with red, you should, you know, always come prepared with specific achievement and metrics. I mean, like for most of the interview, you should always like tell your story with like result driven, metric driven lines, you know. But especially with red, you gotta lean into that way more, right? Because that's what they care about. Like you gotta feed them with what they care about. And also like be ready to defend your idea, you know, like because like they will ask tough questions, so like don't get stressed or like feel like so personal, like why he asked me that or why she's like that, you know. That's just how they are. And I was gonna say, like, don't take directness personally, especially in sales interview. I've been into some interview that are so cold. The hiring manager is just like, you know, like standing here, not standing, but like sitting here, and then like so cold, like on Zoom, you know, you can already feel the room temperature is at 0. Then like after a while, like after I got the offer and I see the other side of him, I was like, damn, like he gives me a whole different, completely different like personality. some manager, they like to bring out their red side interview just to test like how you are, how you can handle like cold room, especially for tech sales. Like you gotta cold call people, and like most of the prospect, they're not gonna be like as happy as me like talking to you. So yeah, don't take it personally, just like understand that and then like communicate in the way that is most effective to them. Now second, you have the yellow. They're the visionary influencer. So like think about like Sam Altman, like from OpenAI. I've been using Sora so much lately, and like I'm basically like brainwashed with all the like people that creating videos with Sam Altman right now. But like he's yellow, like he's someone that like super thoughtful, optimistic, love telling story, right? And love thinking about the future, And then like, okay, so like how they make decision, it's like, yes, it's data driven, right? But it's also like adaptable. They tend to like go with the flow a little more than red. Red is just like, oh my God, it has to be like this, and then go do it. Yellow, they're more chill and then more fun. And then in the interview, like they would like to explore like how you think with them, and like what's your vision, like, and how is your mindset. Like more importantly, they care about your mindset more, and they will ask you some personal question, to understand like who you are as a human being, not just like some candidate. They might share story with you as well, and then how the style, it just feels like it's a conversation, instead of an interrogation. I know like most interview feel like interrogation, but trust me, like I've been to some like very fun one. Like there's a couple interview, like I still think about it sometimes, because like the conversation we had, it just like we click so well, first is because like we are matching the same color, and then second, it was fun. It's actually like a conversation, and I'm not feeling like I'm being examined or being tested by like a random person I just met. So be optimistic, like there will be like good interview, but also prepare for the bad ones. So if you're interviewing with yellow, right? Like if the hiring manager, it's yellow, then like you gotta lean into the hobby, like lean into your personal story, tell them who you are, and then show how adaptable you are, right? And you're willing to learn, and also like demonstrating like problem solving. Like this is like applied to all interview, right? But for yellow, you gotta lean into talking about hobby and showing who you are more. We have the green, the harmony building leaders. So we have Sundar as an example. His style is like very calm, it's like a very wise, calm person. It's like your uncle that made it, and then he just like teaching you stuff. It's just like how calm green are, right? They seek for harmony, and their interview style is tend to like, they want to understand if you're a team player, right? How do you handle conflict? And they will emphasize on like in-person interview more. Even though like most tech sales jobs are remote, like I seen some, it's like they want you to go into the office, like, for one of the rounds or whatever, that's just their preference. They like the human interaction. Yeah, so like how to identify green, it's like they would take time to process your answer, right? They would not with you. They would like trying to connect with you and ask follow-up question. So if you're interviewing with greens, you gotta show example, right, of how you help other people. Even though sales is like an individual contributor role, right? But you should still show that you're a team player. Like no manager will want to hire people that will be like top reps, okay? But like you're not a team player, like you're not willing to like share your feedback with your team or like grow others. In a corporate setting, they just would not select candidate like that, because like they're bringing you in the team, like you have to be like a team player and coachable. That's what they care about. And then they want to understand your mindset, right? What you learn from your failure. And then also like ask thoughtful question, because like they tend to willing to like understand you deeply. Then we have blues. They are the strategic analytic minds. So think about Tim Cook. They are very precise. When I think about blue, it's like accountant, like think about your accountant. They are like so detail oriented, so thoughtful. It's like they would never miss something, So in the interview, like they were trying to deep dive into your process, trying to understand, okay, like you said you have this result, but how do you get here? Like tell me ABC like thoroughly, tell me the framework, right? Walk me through exact steps. What metrics did you use, right? right? How did you measure XYZ? How do you know if you are actually growing or not, right? This is what they want to learn. And like I said, like for all interview, you gotta prepare numbers, but it's just for blues, they care about it the most. And then they want to see if you're a systematic thinker like them, right? Because they are, so you gotta kind of match that. And also like demonstrating like you're not just making decision out of nowhere, like you're actually using data to prove, right, to support your decision. This is very key when working with blue. So now if you watch through here and you're still not sure like what color are you, let's go through these 3 questions to quickly help you find your color. So question number 1, are you introverted or extroverted? So if you're extroverted, you're more likely to be either a red or a yellow. And if you're introverted, that means like you're either a blue or a green. Then you gotta think about, okay, like am I more logical or am I more emotional? So if you're logical, it means that you are either green or red. And if you're more emotional, then you are blue or yellow. So by this time, like you should already kind of know like which one are you, you should be able to like eliminate 2 already. And then the third question is like, do I talk more deliberately or do I speak quickly? If you're more deliberate, it means that you are either green or blue. And if you speak more quickly, then you are more likely a red or a yellow. So just take me as an example. I don't know if you guys can guess like if I'm introvert or extroverted, but like I did the 16 personality test and I'm a little more extroverted than introvert. I'm almost like 52% extroverted. So I'm either a yellow or a red. And then the next question, like, am I more logical or more emotional? Like for me, like I'm a quite emotional person. So I'm either a blue or a yellow. Also, like I tend to speak quicker than more deliberate. So the answer is I'm a yellow. So I hope that is helpful to help you find your color. Comment below and let me know like what color are you. Now the core problem we want to talk about here is most people interview in their own color and assuming all the hiring manager would respond in the same way. When you are a red and if you meet a hiring manager that is also red, like of course your conversation is gonna flow, you're gonna feel happy, you feel like you guys clicked so well, but like not when you're meeting with other colors. So like here's a realization for me. Like I said, I'm a yellow. And I remember I was interviewing with one company like last year when I was job hunting. Even though I was able to break into tech sales within 30 days, I still got some rejection, and here's one of it. I remember there's this company, they're also in downtown Toronto, and back then I was living around there. So I was like, yeah, like it's so close to my house. I really like that and I like their product too. And then I make it to the final round to meet with a VP. Back then I didn't know these 4 colors, so I wasn't able to like understand, okay, like what's wrong with a conversation with the VP. But now I know like he's more like a red person. And then there's me like yellow, like when I joined the call, like I was like, like with my big smile, so much energy sitting there, like all the like optimistic, it's like filling out the whole Zoom room, But then like the VP, he's like so cool and like, like a 40 years old man just like sitting there. And then he's like, how are you doing? And then I was like, damn, like, is he not like me? And then through the conversation as well, like he cared about more like about result, impact and stuff. I did touch on that too, but then like, cause naturally I'm a yellow, I tend to tell story, I tell him about, oh my God, like when I job hunt, I do this, I do that as well. And then I was like, how come like he doesn't like my story, right? And then like now I know it's cause like I was communicating in my own color and then versus like for a red, like he doesn't care about all the other stuff except results. So the lesson here is when you only interview in your own color, like you only connecting with a hiring manager who are like you, and the chances is not very high, because like people are very complex. We have different personality. So like you cannot only speak your own language, right? You gotta adapt to other people. But I'm not telling you to change who you are in the interview, like you don't have to change who you are. And it's more like we want to adapt to how they like to be communicate. And right now, I know we're actually like kind of labeling ourselves with these color, right? But like just know as a human, we're very complex. Like I'm not a yellow all the time. There's days that I would like be very analytical driven. I will also lean towards red a little bit, So we're very complex. Like don't label yourself or put yourself in this like small little box, be like, oh, like I'm a green and then I will never talk like red, you know, like don't be like that. Because like I was listening to one of like Naval's podcasts, like which I'm gonna include here.
I also think like labels like pessimist, optimist, cynic, introvert, extrovert, these are very self-limiting. Humans are very dynamic. There are times when you feel like being introverted. There are times when you feel like being extroverted. There are contexts in which you'll be pessimistic. There are contexts in which you'll be optimistic. Leave all those labels alone. It's better just to look at the problem at hand, look at reality the way it is. Try to take yourself out of the equation in a sense. Like obviously you're involved.
It's just really emphasize my point here. Like we are a human, like we are a very complex person. Like don't try to label yourself and then be like, oh, this is who I am, I will never change. You know, like if you want to grow and continue like become the better self, you cannot limit yourself. Now I'd like to share with you the self-awareness blind spot that is costing people's jobs. This is wild. Like 90% of candidates, they have no clue of what color they are, and like they just show up in the interview, right? They walk in unconsciously broadcasting their weakness and like hiding their strength in that settings. So now I'm going to show you how each color accidentally self-sabotage in interview. First thing first, we have red. So like how they show up without realizing, it's like very, very like obvious. It's like I see it all the time, you know, like I work with a lot of clients now. So like I know like some people like they just like interrupt how other talk, you know, and they thought they're engaging with the conversation, but it's actually not. Like it's kind of rude, you know. So you gotta like review your interview, right? Also like get feedback, you know, like from coaches, from outside help to see like what is your blind spot. Like sometimes they also give the answer too briefly, you know, and then left the hiring manager thinking like, okay, like that's it. Sometimes they're very result driven. They don't do like building rapport at the beginning. Like that's like a no, you know, like I talk about it in the free course. The first thing first in the interview setting, you have to build rapport, you know, you gotta make them feel comfortable. And also it gives you time to identify what color they are, right? So you can speak their language. And then like, this is a pretty minor thing, like body language wise, you know, like pay attention of how you sit in the interview, right? Even though it's online, everything counts, like from how you sit, how your camera is positioned, right? If your camera is lower than where you are, then it just look like you're very aggressive. You're looking down like this, you know? So this is something to be aware of. So here's a reality check for red, right? Your strength is like very naturally, you're a leader, you know, like you're very result driven, you're decisive. But the blind spot is like sometimes you might seem to like come across as like dismissive or not a team player. Like that's very, very big red flag. You know, you don't want to not look like a team player in interview. So I would say the fix is like slow down first, right? And then also like identify the color of the other people. Try to don't do what I just mentioned. And also just like engage with the actual conversation instead of feeling like you want to get to the result. Then we have the yellows. Like this is kind of the overshares trap. You know, they talk way too much and share way too much like irrelevant stuff. I see it all the time. You know, like there's sometimes like people come to my calls, especially like for me at the beginning, the biggest mistake is like I thought I was being friendly, you know, I was trying to like make them like me, telling them all the story. But like sometimes like for other colors, they just don't care about all your bullshit, you know, just get to the point. So try to not share too much personal detail. Like you could build rapport, right, by identify what's the common hobby you guys have, right? Or like if you join similar groups, similar school, community, whatever, you can mention that. For yellow, like it's like almost the opposite of red. Like for yellow, like what you should pay more attention is if you're actually sitting in a very professional way, you know, like I know like yellow try to like just chill, enjoy the moment, you know, but then sometimes like, it just makes you look like you're not serious about this interview, and that's the last thing you want to do. So for yellow, your strength is like you are a natural relationship builder, you're enthusiastic, you are creative, you know, there's so much energy like coming out, but here's your blind spot. You gotta be able to show them like you can be creative and professional, right? And also like try to time yourself. Like don't give like a 5 minutes answer. Like people get bored, right? Just get to the point, cut down some of the unnecessary story, and then prepare an example with the numbers and stuff. Okay, so for greens, then this is like very, very true. Like they always give very safe vanilla answer. I love this saying, vanilla answer. It's just like there's so many times that I see it every day. There's people just like would give answer. Yeah, like it's almost like a textbook answer, but it's because it's a textbook answer. It's so boring. Like everyone heard it already, right? Like you're saying the same cliche stuff that don't stand out. And that's the last thing you want. Because like if you do this, other candidate would do the same thing too, right? Like you don't sell yourself hard enough. You just basically be like, oh, I'm here, you know, like you can ask me anything, you know, instead of like a salesperson, you gotta be like, yo, let me control the room here, you know, like here's our agenda, here's the flow, and then here's my story, like I'm gonna tell you this way, you know. Green, you just gotta like warm yourself up, you know, early on, like bring out the energy, bring out some aggressiveness here. So green tend to speak very calmly, so like try to make yourself more energetic, you know, to make the conversation more fun instead of just like a meditation, you know. It's not a meditation retreat. Like you don't have to speak too calm, you know. You're trying to get them interested, right? Get them curious about like, okay, who you are. Like I want to work with you. Like that's the vibe you want to give. So for greens, like your strength is you're a team player, you know, because like you always seek for team harmony. You're reliable, like there's no doubt, right? And you're also thoughtful. You're a good listener. But here's a blind spot. Like sometimes if you're too passive, especially in sales, it's not gonna work, you know. Like even though you get the job, prospect, they would not care about passive people, right? They would just hang up, right? Or in the call, like they would just tell you, okay, yeah, like everything sounds good, you know, but they would never buy, right? Then if they don't buy, if they don't convert, like there's no point to be in tech sales. Like that's how you make money, right? And also like when you're so calm, it's kind of show that you have a lack of ambition, which I know you might not, right? But you appear that way. So here's the blind spot, like you can fix it. So I would say for green, you can prepare 3 highlights reels, right? When I say reel, it's almost like Instagram reels, you know, like every second counts and everything they say, it matters a lot. It's trying to get the audience excited, you know. Practice with some volume and conviction, and also like ask strategic question. Then we have blues. So you tend to be like very analytical, you know, like very, very detailed. Like you're so technical, like basically. Like blues tends to like over explain too much detail. Again, like people get bored. Like, you know, if you tell me like so much detail, like my brain already thinking about like next week, like where I'm gonna go, the trip I'm going to, you know, the beach I'm gonna sit at. Like no one care about that much detail, right? Especially in the interview settings, like they just want to understand like high level, you know. If they're curious, they will ask you. If they didn't ask you, like trim it down, right? And also like don't make it too rigid, right? It's an interview, you should be professional, but like don't make it so boring, right? Like don't make it like you are reading out from an essay. Like it's kind of, right? Like even though you qualify on the technical side, like if you're not fun enough for them to like want to work with you 8 hours a day, it's not gonna cut it. Yeah. And like blue, you know, like they tend to be more stiff, you know, like very serious. Like understand, like just like take a deep breath and then just try to like listen to some music that make you move around, you know. Your strength, like without a doubt, like you are very, very analytical, and it's a good skill to have, right? But you don't want to seem too robotic and difficult to work with. At the end of the day, like you still gotta report to your hiring manager. They are bringing you in the team, right? They want you to be a people person. So the fix is very easy, you know, like if you can just like smile more and then tell a little more story and then be more flexible, you know, like don't be like, oh my God, like I'm like a robot. I have to do like ABC and then explain the whole things down the line. It's not very necessary. So like you see the problem here, right? Like we tend to default, like speak in our own color, but when you're in interview, you gotta care about the other people more. Just like on a date, like when you go on a date, if you meet a guy that or a girl that you love, like you are actively thinking about how I can get them like me, right? So you're not just trying to showcase like who you are. You were unconsciously adapting to their own style and communication style. Right. So here is the key to get the hiring manager like you and also build a gap during the interview process. Because I've been hearing a lot of people telling me they get rejected in the final round, right? And they are very sad because like they already get rejected, right? After they went through the whole interview process just to find out, okay, like they pick someone else, It's through these small things, building the connection in the interview, right? And also like showcasing who you are like naturally, is to build a gap to make them feel like you are such a good candidate, like they would not just use you to benchmark other people. Like that's the key. Now we're gonna go into more detail about like how to interview each color. So when you're interviewing with red manager, make sure you're direct and decisive. Like you have to be confident like them. Like they're usually more confident, super driven, right? Make sure you use framework while communicating, especially in the VP rounds. Like most VP, they are red, like it or not, like because like if they can make it to the top like that, they are people that like super busy, they don't care about bullshit, right? So they love framework. Instead of like, let me walk you through my entire career journey and all the backgrounds, details, it happens. Like there are people that I seen and they just tell me everything about their job. I was like, yo, like there's no need, So instead of telling everything about you, just be like, yeah, like I increased customer retention by 30% in my last role by implementing this. Here's our 3 key strategy that I use, right? And here's how I can apply the same strategy into this new role, right? To help you build more pipeline, close more deals. Like, do you have any question? That's it. After you finish, just shut up, don't talk more. If they have question, they will ask you. And if you're interviewing with yellow, you just gotta like be more enthusiastic, be more positive, be more engaging, like if it's not natural in you, but just believe there is green element in you. You just need to bring it out during the interview, right? It's just for 30 minutes, right? And then after that, you go back to your green or blue zone, right? But in the interview, if you're meeting with people that are yellow, right, you gotta make them feel like you're matching their energy. So when you're with yellow, like don't talk like green and blue. It's gonna bore them so much. So you gotta be like, yeah, like I'm so excited of what you guys building here. Like I've been following the company growth. Like I see this story, that thing. I'm actually so excited for you guys. Let me tell you about my last role. Like when I was doing XYZ, like I like to bring all the skills and then help you guys build bigger things. Like obviously I'm not using specific example here. Like you gotta fill in these blank, right? When you are actually interviewing with a specific company. But like that's a vibe. You gotta give it to yellow. And then for green, right? Like for green, then you gotta like calm down a little bit, be more patient, be more supportive. Don't be like, yeah, like I want result, like when are you guys gonna have this decision? You gotta give them the time to process stuff. So say this instead. Like, I'm really excited about the possibility of joining your team. Like, I'd like to understand more how your team dynamic is and how the new hire are being onboarded nowadays. Like, how is the first 90 days look like? Like, you see the difference here, right? Like, for greens, like, they value harmony and stability more. So, like, slow down and listen to them. And then we have blues, right? Like, they're more precise structure, and then they want to understand more details. So like, don't say like, okay, like, don't worry, trust me, like I can do it, like I did it before. Like, just tell blues nothing, so you gotta say something like, yeah, like while I don't have direct sales experience, like I researched your sales methodology. Like I've been talking to some other like BDR AEs as well. Like I learned your exact process, like here's the 30, 60, 90 days plan I have, I can email you as well. But like, let me just walk you through high level what I do here. And these are the things I track, right? Do you have any question? Like that would click with Blue way more instead of just like hyping, be like, okay, yeah, trust me, I did it, or I can do it. It's just like, it's too much enthusiastic. Like Blue, they care about like actual solid number or steps. Okay, so like as you learn about these 4 colors, right, you'll be able to connect with 95% of interviewers you met in like throughout your interview. But the key here is like you're not trying to change yourself and you don't want to change others as well. Like what we're trying to do is to understand who they are, like put them into a category. So we understand, okay, like, oh, like I'm actually talking to a rat. Let me adapt, right? Adjust for a bit, We're like water. So this is what I teach my clients in my program, if we were to work together. Like we want you to be able to speak multi-language while keeping who you are, keeping your identity. And we want you to walk into any tech sales interview, right? Still feel empowered, confident, while being able to speak the other person, the hiring manager's language. So if you want to dive in deeper in the system and framework we use in our program to help you land tech sales job fast, book a call with me in the description below and I will come out and we can have a chat. If you find this video helpful, make sure you check out this one where I spell all the secret sauce of what to do in tech sales interview and eventually land an offer.